Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of the Away Gooners podcast. You might be noticing some differences, some new faces in here, and some familiar faces missing. So my name is Arun, and I'm going to be the showrunner for this podcast instead of your usual favorite Vijay Singh Aram, also known as Picasso. I'm joined as usual by Bob, and we have a new
Yes.
entrant today, Suraj, all the way from London. Hello, Suraj.
Hi, Arun. Hi, Bob.
Hey,
So
how are you doing?
so like I mentioned, we do not have our familiar face because he's not available today. Life gets in the way. He's gone back home to India. It's something that a lot of us here have been wanting to do for a long time. We live since the pandemic struck, but he's one of the few lucky ones who got to do that. So we're all happy for him. Yeah, we're really happy for him, and we hope he has like a good vacation and comes back stronger for the next one. So in the meantime, it'll be just me, Bob, and Suraj doing the Villa preview for you guys today. So I'll start with this question. I'll start with you, Suraj, since you're
Yeah.
coming for the first time and joining us for the first time. Thanks a lot for that first. But you are someone who is in London right now, like who's
Yeah.
in the middle of all the action. The information that we guys receive, be it me in Montreal, Vijay in Vancouver, or Bob in Sydney, it's all that we see from the news outlets or from the outrage, if you can call that, in social media. It's always boiling. There seems to be like no one putting a lid on things. But how, as someone in London so close to the action, how do you see things being like? What is the atmosphere like?
To start off with, right, I think football is although it's part of, everyone's culture and things you choose, say if you're wherever you're based, right? Here it's part of everyday conversation. It's a conversation starter. It's ingrained within the culture, right? So you go to work and just like talking about the weather or how your commute was, they talk about the weekend's games.
Oh,
So
then
did
you
you see
must
this
your Mondays
game?
must be terrible then.
Very terrible, and that's why. And the other thing is, I think celebration-wise, right? I think pubs and everything is completely full over the weekends, and there are loads of stadiums around London, right? For example, I stay literally a 10-minute walk from the West Ham Stadium, Olympic
Hmm.
Stadium. So you have no, it's completely crowded on match days, weekends. And then you get the away team coming in here. So I've seen Arsenal players staying in the hotels nearby the West Ham Stadium. Then you get
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
recently we saw Ronaldo there, and when Man United came. So I think it's part of the culture and part of everyday conversation. But I'm sure you see on television, you see on social media the kind of celebration and
Right,
fanaticism that almost happens at the
right.
grounds and outside. I think that is a fair reflection of what you see on social media. Yeah.
How's
But
how's the general sentiment so far, Suraj? If you
yeah.
were to summarize, is
Yeah.
that mood swinging against Arteta? We see a lot on social media where, I mean, fans are obviously not happy, but does that mood reflect back up there in London as well as in the stadium in and
Like
around her?
amongst the supporters
Yeah.
mainly, yeah, like
I think, yeah. No, I think it's fair to say our fan base is so divided, right? It's the most one of the most divided fan base right now. But I think because of, the pandemic and, lockdown for the last 18, 20 months with no crowds and all that kind of thing, right? When things opened up, there's this season particularly, I know, there's been some fair criticism in the past where, the Emirates is not the most noisiest or whatever it is. But I think the crowd is fully behind the team. I think irrespective
That's
of
true.
what you think of Arteta, what you don't, he's doing this, he's not doing enough. There's a huge backing. We all of us want the team to do well. I
Mm-hmm.
think NLD is a reflection of that, and all the other home games we've had. I think it's a reflection of that. Even the away games we've been to, like for example Brighton, and we did have support in that rain on a late evening as well. I think that we all want the team to do well. We all want to back the
Mm-hmm.
team irrespective of what opinions are, and that's within the fans. But when we see the team play, we want them to fire. We want them to play good football. I think that's the general vibe because we've been starving with no football
Right,
and not
right,
being
right.
able to go to games, right? So everyone talks about, yes, I'm going to finish work and go for, well, even if it's a Carabao Cup, the Leeds game will be crowded
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
that's coming up soon. So it's we all want to get behind the team. I think that's the whole uh, just gentle vibe around. You know,
That's a very good summary because it sort of like reflects what it reflects on the pitch. Like even when we're watching on the television, like when we're watching the games, we can hear the crowd supporting the team. Like, the chants aren't stopping, the singing isn't stopping. They are being, like you said, Emirates has known to be like sort of a library. There's
Yeah.
always been that criticism, but in spite of like when things weren't working well during the last game against Palace, the crowd never stopped. Like usually, we have seen the crowd like turn on the players, and like after the way they celebrated after the final equalizer showed how
Yeah.
much like that it meant for them. You sometimes we have seen in the past where things like this have gone sort of like not received the right response, or we've even seen people boo after results like this, at
Mm.
the end of the 90 minutes, when you want the team to be doing well and it doesn't. We've seen that before. So this is a very refreshing change, and it's that we are seeing now, and hopefully let's see how long this continues, and
Yeah.
how long until the patience wears out. So like you said, everyone wants that data. That's the truth. So now just moving on, like the thing that we want to talk about today is just basically preview the upcoming Villa game. I know it seemed like we just like did the review for the Palace game like yesterday, and all of a sudden we have another game coming up. That's how the Premier League goes, right? We do not have a lot of rest in between. So Bob, I'll start with you. Like we did the Crystal Palace game was on Monday. We reviewed the game on Tuesday, and we're on Thursday right now, which means that this is giving you about 2.5 days to reflect back on things, and like it is not that immediately after the game reaction like we did. So I'm going to ask you both the same question. I'll ask you first, Bob. With the time that you've had to reflect, has it changed your perception of the game and the results and whatever we are doing in any way because of the time that you have? As we keep thinking about games, we start noticing things that we might have not noticed before, that also might have influenced you in some way. Like, did that happen of any sort for you guys, or do you guys still are like just staying with your verdict last time from
So I
last
think
game?
most of my verdict stays the same, but there are some couple of takeaways from I mean my reflection of the game over the last 2 days. One of the thing was I wanted to again stress the fact that it's not bad to celebrate a 95-minute equalizer. It's not bad. People say that you're rubbishing against the whole thing, and celebrating against a team who you're supposed to smash over the park. No, that's definitely not the case, and football doesn't work that way. So it's not like, I mean, it's still not bad. I would
I'll
say a
I'll
point
I'll
is
I'll
good.
I'll, I'll, oh, I'll cut you off right there, just to ask you a question. After which you can continue on with what you were saying. You mentioned like it's a team that we should be beating, and like yeah, people are the fact that who do you think is a team that can qualify as a team that we can possibly beat right now? Like, given that what we've seen, like every game we say, yeah, Brighton's a team that we should beat. Crystal Palace is a team that we should beat, but we are struggling. Like, is there a bar that we should be setting? Yeah, these are the teams that we should be beating and can beat.
Probably at the moment, I would say Watford or Newcastle.
Okay.
That's the obvious ones that comes to my mind.
The
Every
thing
other
is,
game is going to be difficult, I would say.
Okay. Okay. So
yeah.
now that we've set the bar right, we've set the expectations right. Yes, go on.
No, I was just going to add to that, right? I think I don't. The sad thing is we can't set a bar currently
Yeah.
because the last 12 to 18 months, especially in the league, right, we're so the performance is so inconsistent. And if you have to sum up, our team, it's like you don't know what you're going to get on that day.
Mm.
We could have a complete blowout and a masterclass, a defensive masterclass, 1-0 at Old Trafford. Next week, go to Aston Villa at home and get slapped 3-0.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
you cannot say what you're going to
You
get with the same set of
you
players.
had to use Aston Villa there, didn't you? You had to use that in just
Yeah.
the upcoming game.
And there were the similar times, right? So
that's a
I think
perfect anecdote, buddy.
and the thing is, with the same set of players, you don't know what you're going to get on that day.
Right,
You could
right,
have
right,
Partey absolutely being a Rolls Royce on that day, or you could get turned over by four midfielders crowding him, and you don't know what you're going to get
right.
with
It's
that team.
not everybody is like on the top of their games at the same time all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry, Bob, I cut you off there. Like you were talking about the reflections, the things that the takeaways.
Yeah, so like I said, Equalizer did still seem okay to me. And I, as a fan, definitely did enjoy that coming. the second thing was probably the fact that more and more I looked into the game. I was just pointing to 2 or 3 instances where MacArthur should have been sent off even earlier. It's just quite ridiculous that he was on the pitch, and that changed the whole complexion. I did mention during the Crystal Palace review, and I still stand by that. Our team could have still won that, and all the noises could have probably come down had it been for that. You just need that sort of a luck in some of these things. I mean, it's not more luck, it's just fairness. It's a refereeing nonce, I would say. And for us to not get that, it's quite ridiculous that it happened that way. But yeah, as a fan, I could just anguish my I could feel bad about it all day, but we just have to move it on to the next game. So
Of course, I think at this point we'll also have to like mention that the fact that we have been, this has been going on, the refereeing decisions have been going against us. It doesn't mask the fact that we failed to show up for the game. We played
of
probably
course,
like
see,
15,
I
20
think,
minutes
yeah,
of intense football.
I'm not
But
I'm not deluded
these
enough to
decisions do help
say,
when they go in
yeah,
your way in a game like this. When you're playing bad, of
exactly.
course, these decisions are the ones that make that that margin of difference is based on these decisions.
See,
Yeah.
I
So
remember an instance a couple of seasons back when Oba was actually Oba was not in form, and he was not, like, I mean, not at his prolific best at that point in time. Like I said, won a penalty, and he
yeah,
gave that to Oba to take, and that actually
Mm.
turned around on Oba, and he was the highest goal scorer for a club that
right,
season, and
Yeah.
I
right.
think he was on par for the Golden Boot with Mane and Salah and
Yeah.
everyone. So like, it's just one instance which could turn around the whole thing.
Right.
And had it been in our favor, then probably it would have been a different result, and we would have been talking about all the positives and all those sort of things.
Yeah.
Still doesn't answer which Arsenal is going to turn up everything.
Yeah. Exactly. No, I think like Arun mentioned, right? He said we have had multiple these kind of decisions in the past. I think going into games, we just need to caveat that we might have a few bad
Yeah,
decisions,
yeah,
bad fouls, turnovers, and assuming that that's going to happen anyway. Apart from the other team attacking us, we have to still put in a performance.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we
Are
keep
we are
complaining.
we are we at that stage where we don't really worry about the result and just keep
Bob,
playing
Bob,
on?
Bob, let's get a plan B first, then we can think about all these things. We're stuck with just one plan A here right now, and that's
Yeah.
how we're playing against. Yeah, so coming to you, Suraj, what was, I believe that your reaction was a mix of disappointment and
Yeah.
frustration after the Crystal Palace draw. Was there anything positive that you probably took out of it right away, or after, the time that you've had to reflect on it before going
Uh,
into the Villa game?
yeah, no, couple of things, right? I think that there are the ifs, but MacArthur incident, Saka injury, and other yellow cards and whatnot. I definitely celebrated at the last minute equalizer. I
As you
did
should,
jump off my seat.
as you should.
And I think positives, I would say, I think Aubameyang and Lacazette have different skill sets as a striker. And we can say Auba's kind of gaining on some of the skill sets that Laka has. Higher work rate. Laka gives his 100% on the field. So you saw Auba's pressing, Auba's work rate. Auba's hold up is improving for some reason. For someone who's 6'2", his hold up and headers and aerial ability is not the greatest. But I think it is kind of reflecting. For example, NLD that flick to ESR, things like that. I think Auba's press was really, really good. I think Odegaard was kind of missing, and we can go into individual players.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
I think
As
one of the
like
things,
an overview, like what,
yeah, I know an overview of, there are positives to take away, but I think the biggest sort of thing to work on is the predictability while going
Mm,
forward, right? And I think that is something we can talk about when we get to the Villa preview, and that's
right,
my concern.
right.
I think.
So that's what we're doing right now. So that was a good seg into the preview that we want to do for the Villa game. So let's see. First, let's start with this. When you hear Arsenal versus Aston Villa, what's the first memory that gets into your head? There are many clubs against which we have great memories, many clubs against which not so great memories. These guys, Aston Villa, have been, I think, a bit of a pain for us of late. If I am not wrong, we've lost the recent games. I think they did the double over us last
Yeah.
season. Given all that, what is the first thing that comes to your head? Is there anything that's specific at all to this game that you'd like to attach?
Emi Martinez complaining.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I think if we go this entire game without like an Emmy Martinez complaint, like post match or whatever it might be, that would probably like the biggest incident of the year. Emmy Martinez doesn't complain. Yes, that would be a big incident. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think like given all that has been happening over the last 2 seasons since he got transferred, all that he's been talking about, I think that's quite natural that the focus goes directly on him when these two teams like meet. So I think he's going to be scrutinized a lot. But given the kind of player that he is, he's shown that he can like put up with pressure like this. So let's start with them first. Like in terms of we know how our team plays or turns up or fails to turn up during games, and we've spoken a lot about it. So let's talk about the opposition, like the manager, starting with the manager, Dean Smith. It's a home game for us. So there's no talk about like the stadium, whatever it might be, but the manager, like anything about the manager, the style of play that you've seen so far. Like, is there any defined set of play that you can see, any patterns that you can see, like anything that you can elaborate on? Anyone can go first.
I'll take it. I think Aston Villa has always been a team which we should be beating quite easily. But I think last couple of seasons, I think last year they did the double over as 3-0 and 1-0. And I think the reason they stayed in the league was when they beat us 1-0 at the Emirates. And that helped them stay up in the league from relegation. So one of that team which really helped them with that. But I think in terms of a style of play, right? I think when they go away, I don't think they're not that team that sits back. They will play football. They will play expansive, football, and they have some good attackers, a strong midfield. The likes of Ings, Ollie Watkins, John McGinn. You have I don't know Leon Bailey's injured, but you have Buendia creating. They will play expansive football. They will come at us, and I don't think we are at a point where this is a fortress where some club has to come here and sit. So they will play football. They will go for it.
It's a bucket with
So
plenty of holes right now. Not a
yes, so I think they will go head on, and we have to take it head on and not switch off after the 15-20 minute period where we're like, yeah, we're sitting back. I think that's my sort of initial reflections. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, Bob.
Yeah, I agree with you on most of the things, So the Dean Smith has actually set up a wonderful team, and he's actually built upon from the earlier team, even without their talisman, Grealish. They've built upon. I initially felt they would have been really struggling, but then they made a masterstroke by bringing in Ings. That was just one hell of a move. Nobody would have really thought about such a move, and then they just blindsided everyone in signing him out of nowhere. So by that, they've equally replaced Grealish contributions in all the others that you mentioned, Suraj. So I feel they will not sit back and hold on. They will come to attack us, and that's where we need to make them do mistakes and then possibly capitalize on those. How effectively could we do that with the chances that we get? I mean, remains to be seen. But yeah, I think if as a general perception, I feel Arsenal tend to play well for any team who comes to attack rather than to sit back. We really struggle to break down teams like Brighton or Burnley, for example. I'm not saying Brighton is bad, but still, their style has changed now. They are as well in the pressing mode at the moment. So we tend to get more spaces around that. And if we could capitalize. I mean, I just saw the last game against Wolves, and I mean, hats off to them. They were just sitting back, and they just used those 10 minutes as a bliss to score 3 goals. That's it, game over. So
they use a very high pressing game to
Exactly.
back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bob.
I,
You can you.
no. Yeah, that's it. That's
I
pretty
think
much what I was going to
one
mention.
interesting thing to what Bob said, right? Although we say all these things about Aston Villa, they play this good for. They're equally unpredictable. They will take a 3-2 loss. They will take like last year they lost. I think they had few good results, and then Grealish got injured. They lost 5-0 or 4-0, something like that to Southampton. And they will take bad results. They will come up with they're not like the most prolific and consistent side as well. They will come up with their set of losses. So this could definitely, hopefully, be the one.
And coming back to the double that they did against us, I don't take that 1-0 victory at the Emirates, because at that point in time, even a street side football could come into Emirates and then come back with 3 points. So yeah.
It was a 3-0 loss at the Emirates actually.
3-0.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, yeah.
That's
So
interesting. Yeah.
it's interesting fact because from 2011-12 season to 15-16 when Villa got relegated, we never lost to them even once, home or away. I believe that there were like about 10-12 games. All of them were wins except for a draw. And then they come back to the Premier League. We played 4 times against them, and out of the 4 games, we've lost 3. So we have a win success percentage of 25% against this
Yes.
team since they
And
came
even
back.
that one game we won, right? That was a 3-2 with the Oba free
Yes,
kick, the last.
yes, exactly.
Yeah,
So off
yeah.
late, these guys have been a very sticky, tricky opposition for us. So I don't know. I mean, like on one side, I want to take, some positives from what you said, Bob. The fact that we play well against teams that try to attack, like what you guys said. But given like how Villa have done us in the last 2 seasons, I really don't know if I should be like hoping for something like another positive result again. But let's see. They like we mentioned, their big money signings have been Buendia, Bailey, Ings was a masterstroke. They already have a very good goal scorer in Watkins, and they replaced Grealish. I think I don't know if they replaced him adequately in terms of quality, but in terms of numbers, they've got people who could possibly produce the same effect as what one Grealish could. I think you guys would always like agree with me on this. And we have Emi Martinez as well. It's the same guy that we spoke about, the one who keeps making all the noise. One important signing that has gone under the radar is Young. Ashley Young is also back there. So he came back this season on an undisclosed fee. I believe it's probably a free transfer, an undisclosed fee.
It's a
So
free transfer.
free
Yes.
transfer, yeah. So Young is also there, and he has also hurt us in the past, most notably in that 8-2 defeat against United. I don't know if I should be talking about this here. Bad memories. So these guys, Villa, are basically 1 point, one spot below us on the table. They're 13th, we're 12, so not really a lot of things separating the two teams. I think they're just like 1 point below us, right? So they're on 10 points. Their season has not been great either.
FOA Crystal Palace too was below us when we played.
Yes, you had to mention it there, right? Yeah, so their season has not been all that great from the stats that I'm looking at right now. They've had 3 wins, but every time they've like sort of played a big team, barring United, they've lost. So they've lost to like out of the 6 teams that they faced, they've lost to both Chelsea and Tottenham. Their one win was against United. I think we all
again. Why do you mention this big team thing?
it's
Who are
just
you
to
referring
see
as big team here?
whatever it
It's a
might
very
be.
interesting question, right?
Yes,
Do
it
you
is.
consider Arsenal a big team now?
No, I let me tell you this. We are a big 16,
Big team.
not a top
Yes.
16. There's a
Yes.
difference. Yeah. We are not right now a top 16. Probably that is what we want to achieve. But when it comes to like, the quality of opposition and how it's the teams are perceived, we definitely are a part of the big six. So whenever I look at teams, I'd like to see how they perform against the big six versus the other teams. That would like be the fair indication of how teams have really performed and what they have actually faced. Otherwise, United, they've faced like one big six team so far,
Yeah.
and they're above us. It doesn't really reflect the real story, right? So there's a lot of difference in there, and that's why I mentioned. So coming back to the big six part, they did lose their game against Chelsea 3-0. They lost against Spurs away 2-1, but they won against, like I mentioned, Everton, United, and Newcastle. And the recent form has not been great. They're coming off 2 losses. So it seems like everything is working in our favor, right? Everything seems to be there, not in form. They've not performed well against the big six teams. Let me ask you guys this. How do you expect Arsenal to disappoint you?
Making scoring stunners.
Yeah, that's
because
the way.
I think I mean, if you look at their wins, many of their goals have been stunners. Really, it's just been worldies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even one of those times that we lost 1-0, that was a Gabriel own goal, isn't it?
I believe so.
Never
Yeah.
been able to.
Cedric passes it, and then it's a back pass to the keeper, and then they come and knock it. Or Watkins comes and knocks it out.
Yeah.
I think the thing about us is.
I know. My question wasn't a good one. I know.
No. The thing is, recently, right? One of the patterns I've observed in the games we lose, we don't get tactically outplayed in our defense. For us, it's almost like a suicidal mission when we make our mistakes and give them the goal. So we don't
But
get
that's
out.
something. Yeah, I agree on that. Like, but that's the people making mistakes and that leading to goals is something that has not been arrested at all.
Yeah, that is on the manager as well as the players. I'm not going to sit only with the players with that. I mean, I think the one thing we need to do is just play clean and obviously playing up. We talk about the process of playing out of the back, high risk, high reward football, all that kind of stuff. But I think mistakes are the single biggest cause of conceding a goal for us. I think single biggest, and I think we don't get completely torn apart or broken out.
Right.
Like for example, the Chelsea game when Reece James just dipped
Yeah,
over
yeah.
to Reece James, and that was just a training ground goal.
Everything from the Lukaku goal to everything is training ground.
Yeah, basically. And I think their midfield can fire goals. Aston Villa's midfield can fire goals, unlike too much of our midfield. And Ings against Gabriel and White is a whole battle by itself. So I think that's what we have to watch out for. Our mistakes, stay solid. Just avoid personal mistakes, handing the ball, back passes, losing the ball at tricky positions like we did against Palace. Like you'd have a Tomiyasu overlapping, and then you have Pepe lose the ball before the overlap, and you have an empty wing. So things like that, I think.
Yeah,
I read a ridiculous stat that only Man City and Chelsea have won more away games than Aston Villa, who won 4.
Wow.
Well,
that's a good start to take to the game.
like when you asked the earlier question, what would you be fearing? That they are after City and Chelsea in terms of the number of wins mustered at the Emirates.
Yeah, so yeah, they got a number. They are a boogie team, if you can call them that. Yeah, so it's good that you guys mentioned the midfield because as we've been talking about John McGinn, like Bob mentioned John McGinn. McGinn has scored 2 goals. Ings and El Ghazi have scored 3 goals each for them. And the surprise package, in my opinion, like I didn't hear about this guy before. They have this guy Connor Archer. I think he scored 4 goals. He's a top scorer for the season. So and Watkins it's usually him that we would think that it's going to be the one causing damage, but he's not even there. And in their injury list, like we spoke about, Bailey has been injured. That's the only thing that seems to be the main concern for them. Buendia Lewis was subbed off around 16 minutes after the last game. So probably fatigue reasons, they might be a bit weak, but I think they have enough quality around them to manage and match up. So coming to our side, so our side, I think in terms of injury, apart from the leg break that Saka got last week, we do not have anyone on the injury table. I think we have Shaka is our long-term injury, and Saka is going to be, I believe, missing. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think he's going to be available at all, or this is a game that will be going in without Saka?
I think he would be a substitute, in my opinion. He would be still on the bench, as far as I think, because he was just taken off as a precautionary measure, not to further complicate things. But I don't think it's as such a injury to be concerned about at this point.
Right.
I think from the Palace game, since then they've had one training session. I think Saka is not part of that. Right. I think Arteta's press conference is come out as we speak, and he mentioned that Saka, there's another training session today, and he could participate in that. But I think like Bob said, he could just be in the bench, and that Arteta uses Saka like a soapbox for every game. So he will feature at least coming off the bench.
So hopefully soapbox Saka should be available from the bench, and it shouldn't be too bad. So
I feel it's actually a good thing. I'm not saying about Saka's injury as such, but it's a good situation for us to capitalize on. We know that in the past, both Abba and Laka has been prolific together, and I would want such a combination to work through this game, with them both starting. And if we could actually change the shape to suit them both on the team, then that's something which we could relish upon. In terms of the whole team, right, putting them together up front will give me more confidence than anything else.
Right. So now that you've broached into the topic, let's go into the starting line. So we go in with a 4-2-3-1 again.
I would.
After the 4-1-4-1, 4-3-3 hybrid disaster class from the last game.
See, the thing is, I would, But knowing Arteta, he will be stubborn with his formation, and I've seen that
Okay.
happen as well.
Okay. So then let's
And
start with the goalkeeper in defense. So Ramsdale stays.
stays.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ramsdale has been doing throw-ins as well. So yeah, why not?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So and the back four stays as is. So KT, Gabriel, White, and Tomiyasu.
Homie. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
they have to.
so now let's come to the midfield three. Is it a 2-1 or a 1-2?
It
I would.
has to be a 2-1
Okay.
because I think, we need a double pivot. And personally, because games are won and lost in the midfield. The Brighton performance was drawn in the midfield. Palace, we almost lost because of the midfield. You have Partey surrounded by 5 people at every time he receives the ball. And we have Bob and you mentioned, and we have spoken about how Aston Villa's midfield is so potent and so of such high quality. Definitely, we needed a double pivot. I think
So
coming out of that,
Sambi and Party, the double pivot.
ambient party.
Yeah.
Name anyone else? El
Yeah,
Nene?
man.
A-M-M. And who's going to be your number 10? Is it going to be Odegaard or ESR?
I would go with ESR as such.
Yep.
It would be sort of bold to drop Odegaard to the bench, but considering the game and considering the weight that we have on our shoulders, go for ESR.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Suraj?
I understand, Bob's view on that. I would still play Odegaard. I personally think Arteta trusts him a lot. He sees him as this leader who leads the press, who starts off the press with Oba. He might just start him. Like bad performances, yeah, he's had two, not so good performances. He might just start him.
And the front three?
Laka, Oba, Pepe.
Okay. And you, Suraj?
There's always what I think and what I think Arteta will do. I think he will do Oba. He will do Pepe on the right, Oba up top, and he might do ESR on the left because I said Odegaard in the 10.
Yeah.
But if he puts ESR in the 10 and surprises us with Martinelli on the left, but he probably won't do that.
He won't do that.
But I think now we need, like Bob mentioned, we need experience stepping up. We are too inconsistent. So we need an Oba and a Laka who have experience to put in big performances and drag us out of, get us
Good
getting
point.
points.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
So Oba coming through the left, Laka linking up through the center, I will be okay with that. I will
Okay.
completely take that.
Okay.
So let's say Oba on the left, Laka up top with, Odegaard and Pepe as my final front four.
Okay, so I think we can safely say our predicted 11 is going to be the same back five with Sambi and Party in midfield, with probably Auba, Odegaard, ESR, Pepe, and Laka. 4 of these 5 playing. Yeah. Okay, so that's interesting. That seems like a decent lineup that we usually put out. The bench is not all that strong, but well, we play with what we have. Yeah. So we're almost coming to the end of this podcast. So let's go. Where do you think the game would be won? The midfield again?
If we get past the midfield battle, then the battle is almost won.
Okay.
It's still not won because we still have to put the ball beyond Emi Martinez, who will actually foul mouth quite a lot, I would think, and he will try to play into the mind of those players, as we've seen in the other games. So we have to get past that. And since he knows how each of them performs in the training, and considering the mental state Arsenal and its players are in at the moment, so it would be a litmus test for us to get past him.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Suraj, quick response from you. Danger Man,
Yes.
and where do you think any interesting battles to look forward to? I'll give you 30 to 40 seconds.
Danger Man is Ings
Okay.
and their midfield, and we are also our own danger man because of our mistakes. And I think that's what is going to cost us. And key battle is Ings, White, and Gabriel. But at the same time, Oba with Tyrone Mings and Ezra Konsa. Yeah. I think that's the key battle. Yeah.
Cool. So prediction time. Final score, Bob.
2-0 to the Arsenal.
Scorers.
1-1.
Oba Laka.
Auba Laka. Suraj.
1-1.
Oh my God!
I'm not too convinced.
I don't know why I started with Bob. I should have asked Bob to go last because my prediction is going to be a negative one. I think it's
Okay.
going to be either a 1-1 draw or a 1-2 loss for us, given how we've been
Yes.
playing and we have not been able to impose ourselves in home games. It
Yeah.
makes me think that like there is always not just one but plenty of mistakes, to be made during the game that can happen at any point in time.
Yeah. True.
So I think it's going to be a 1-1 or 1-2 loss. So I think that concludes our podcast. Unless you guys have anything else to add on, I can go on to the shameless self promo of asking people to like us and subscribe to our channel. So yeah, I think like since you guys are
Yeah.
professing silence, yeah. So thanks a lot for being with us today, guys, and all of those listening. Thanks a lot for your support. Keep commenting, keep like liking us, keep listening to us, and please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Let's hope to see you guys on the other end with a win against Villa. Till then, thanks a lot, guys. It's from me, Arun, Bob, and Suraj. Thank you very much. Come on, you guys.
Thank you, guys. See ya.
Thank you. See